9:17 and gives me great pleasure to welcome to the program Dr. Martin Gill. He is an ENT specialist based in Johannesburg and he's here to talk to us about ivermectin. He is an advocate of this wonder drug, silver bullet. I don't know. Let's hear what the good doctor has to say to us. Morning. Welcome to the show, Dr. Martin Gill.
Good morning, Julia, and good morning to your listeners and viewers.
Nice to have you on. Just as a matter of interest, which hospital are you at?
I'm at Always Life Hospital.
Always Life Hospital. Okay, brilliant. We've been hearing things about ivermectin for the past so many weeks. Never heard of the drug before. And I do understand you are the advocate of this drug. We've also heard things about, saying that it's a drug mainly for animals or for use in animals. So let's just dispel all of that to understand when and how it's effective in the use for human beings and animals. And is it legal?
Okay, so in South Africa, it's only registered for animals, and that's where it gets that's where we get the idea that it's only for animals. But it's actually been registered in humans around the world for more than 30 years now.
Wow.
It was originally registered for tropical diseases. So it basically kills all worms and tropical diseases, lice, scabies, those type of things. And then slowly over the years, they started to realize it actually also kills viruses. So there's Zika virus and dengue virus and even influenza virus. That it's effective against, and now they've shown it to be extremely effective against SARS-CoV-2 virus. So there's been a lot of research in the last 7 months to see its effect on coronavirus. Now, the interesting thing is a lot of people are also saying that it's unsafe, and I've had emails to me even saying that it's killing people. But I haven't found a single reference in the literature to from it. And 3.7 billion people have taken it so far with very minor side effects. And the side effects are generally related to the parasites that die in their body, and then you have an allergic reaction to them. So most of the side effects are quite easily treated with antihistamines.
Okay, so why are we only hearing about it now? It seems to be in the headlines as you and I speak, when already hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives. When is it most effective? You also hear about it needs to be administered before the cytokine storm. You'll explain to us what that is. And if this had been legalized, is it legal in the country? Do you think the scenario would have been different, medically speaking?
I think so. Initially in the pandemic, it's been hidden. So right at the beginning of the pandemic, I used to watch TV webinars on it, and they'd all be taken off the web immediately. So as soon as they finished, they were gone. So there was not easy access to it. Then slowly but surely, trials started coming out. There was a trial in Australia where they showed a reduced viral load in a test tube by 5,000-fold in a week. In 2 days, not a week. And so we knew now it killed the virus. And then studies started to come to show how effective it was in humans. There's an argument that the dose they used in the test tube was so high it would kill humans. But in fact, we've shown that the normal dose, it's very effective. So that obviously doesn't hold. We haven't heard much of it in South Africa because it's not a drug that's really been registered here before. Whereas around the world, it's registered for infective disease. And the World Health Organization actually has it on its...
Okay, you've just frozen there. I hope you can hear me. Are there plans afoot to get the medication registered, the ivermectin? How soon can and will that happen? Because I'm sure you'd agree that the sooner it's registered and available in South Africa, that many more lives will be saved.
Yes, but the latest World Health Organization assessment is that mortality drops by 83%.
Wow.
Now, the reason why I think it's not registered is not enough patients in trials yet for our government to be able to register it. In fact, for the World Health Organization to okay it. So those trials should be available in the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that the World Health Organization will give it the absolute go-ahead and our government will follow suit. And we actually, our government last night indicated they were re-looking at the data. So I think that's a very, very positive sign. And I think that's the reason. I think the original, when they came out and said it was a banned drug and that, I think they were just a little bit harsh. But they didn't have enough data at the time to register it.
Okay, so as you and I speak now, it's not available in the country. And if and when it does become available, will it be a Schedule 5 drug or can I go and buy it over the counter? That being said, once available, can people self-medicate at home? How safe is that practice? Like flu meds.
I think the pharmacy, or SAHPRA, is going to have to decide who can sell it and how it's going to be sold. All I can say is that it is probably one of the safest drugs in the world. And there are countries overseas, like in South America, where they were just dishing them out in cities.
Wow. Okay, we seem to be having a problem with Dr. Martin Gill's picture. He keeps freezing up. Let's just go back to him and see if he can respond to that question all over again.
Sorry, I lost you.
Yes, your picture keeps freezing.
And I'm on a very fast line here, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
Just continue your train of thought, please, regarding availability, pricing. Will I be able to buy it over the counter? Will I be able to self-medicate? That's the all-important question as well.
Yeah. Well, SAHPRA is going to have to decide on that, but it is probably the safest drug in the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did allow over-the-counter, maybe from a pharmacy, so there is some control as who's taking it. But they would have to decide based on the outcomes of the trial how safe they think that is. It's got an unbelievable good track record, so I think it could almost be dished out to people.
I think there's a bit of confusion around as well, because we're talking, yesterday I spoke about COVAX, we're talking about the vaccine as well. We're waiting with bated breath for it to be introduced in South Africa. Yeah. But once this drug, Ivermectin, becomes available, would you still urge the larger population when the vaccine is available to be vaccinated as well on top of the Ivermectin?
Yes, absolutely. So one of Ivermectin's best uses is as prophylaxis. So if you take it on a regular basis, it actually protects you from picking up COVID-19. The problem is it doesn't get rid of COVID-19. So they have two different roles. The vaccine is going to get rid of COVID-19 eventually, and unfortunately it's going to be more than a year in our country, whereas Ivermectin can very quickly control the disease so that we are not at fear of picking up COVID-19, but
really bad line. Let's try that once again, please. Milazi boy, can we just try and get Doctor back there, because he's sharing some very important information.
Sorry, I'm really sorry about that. I'm in our hospital.
Don't worry.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And this information is so important. It's vital to get it out to as many people as possible. So we'll just keep trying. Can you respond? Can you repeat what you were saying? Okay, I think let's do this. Let's cut this interview and try and get the doctor by telephone, if you don't mind. Let's take a short ad break and we'll try and hook up with the doctor by telephone.
With her spectacular beauty, relax beneath her serene sunsets. and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Right, we're back with Dr. Martin Gill, ENT specialist based in Johannesburg. Yes?
Cell phone, see if we can get a better connection.
I'm wondering if you try and hook up by telephone. Maybe that would be best. This is really important information, and I really would like to continue with the interview. Let's just try it one more time. Do you want to respond to my previous question?
Sorry, can we just refresh my mind where we were?
Okay, all right. So if I start having flu-like symptoms, and if I start on a dosage of ivermectin, how soon will I get better? And obviously, earlier on, I spoke to you about the cytokine storm. Just explain how that would impact on the efficacy of the medication.
Okay, so it's a bit variable because I think the severity of the disease is very much related to the viral load that you pick up. So obviously, wearing a mask is better than not wearing a mask. The ivermectin seems to reduce the symptom time by about 50%. So you could expect within 6 or 7 days to start feeling better again. What happens is the virus infects us, then it has a way of turning off our cell immune system. So then you get this massive overload of virus because it's divided unhindered in our body. And then our immune system's presented with these billions of viruses, and then it overreacts. And that's the cytokine storm. But it overreacts to a degree where it actually damages us and can ultimately kill us. So we always try and stop the cytokine storm. Now, ivermectin is a remarkable drug because it stops the virus getting into the cell, it stops the virus dividing in the cell, it stops the virus turning off the immune system, and it blocks the pathway to the cytokine storm. And that means that it works from before you get sick right up until the very last moment. And even patients who are severely sick with saturations reaching 50% respond well to ivermectin. So it's a medication that can be used at any stage in the disease, and they even think maybe afterward.
Could it be used as a supplement in terms of, we've been told that we should, as a precaution, use vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, etc., and all of these other herbal stuff to protect ourselves from this virus. Should one then, once ivermectin becomes available, could we add that to our regime?
That's what we should all be doing. We should be all protecting ourselves with the higher our vitamin D levels are, the less dangerous corona is to us. We want vitamin C, we want zinc, we want to be able to get the zinc into our cells. So there's a medication called quercetin that does it. And melatonin is also shown to help. But a lot of these are actually quite difficult to get hold of at the moment because everyone's trying to get hold of them. But it's definitely worth trying because it does. If you do get COVID, you get a much less severe form of it.
Okay. What about I just get flu-like symptoms and it's not COVID and I start ivermectin? What are the side effects? Is there any danger of side effects?
Okay, that's probably what we should be doing. The side effects of ivermectin are very, very mild. They're usually gastric side effects, so you get slightly crampy tummy. Some people get a little bit of diarrhea associated with it. And some people can feel a little bit dizzy for a while afterwards. But other than that, I've never seen anything severe happen. And there are no severe records of reactions to this drug in the literature. So I think it's an exceptionally safe drug. And when you've got such a safe drug, that the studies are showing if you're taking it very early in the disease, no one dies. They've got a 0 death rate. So when you get your flu, you want to be protecting yourself at that moment until you know whether you're positive or not. So
okay,
I would say, sorry.
I've got a whole host of questions coming in from listeners and viewers. Can I just pose them to you, and then you can respond to me in one go? If type 1 diabetic on insulin, can they take ivermectin? And are there any concerns in terms of side effects or contraindications with the intake of insulin?
Okay. From what I understand is the biggest killer is you're having your diabetes out of control. So it's extremely important to keep your diabetes under control. Ivermectin has a small role on the metabolism of a whole lot of drugs, so probably insulin's one of them. And it would just mean very close control of what's going on there. But I don't know of any contraindications to giving ivermectin if you're diabetic. The important thing if you're diabetic is to get someone who knows what they're doing to control your diabetes while you're being treated for your COVID-19 infection.
All right, two more questions. What about someone who's had a stent fitted in, a heart stent or any other heart disease, and people with autoimmune diseases? How safe are they, with taking ivermectin?
Okay, one of the problems of the COVID-19 infection is the fact that blood clots form in the body. And so that's what you'd worry about ivermectin. But in fact, it hasn't been proven yet. There are some computer-generated studies showing that ivermectin undoes the clots rather than forms the clots.
Oh, wow.
So it might be one of the reasons why people get so well so quickly from it. So I think that isn't a problem. Where the problem does lie is that it promotes the drugs that people with stents are taking to stop their blood from clotting. So there could be the complication of them bleeding. So it must be monitored carefully once they're taking the ivermectin.
Okay, perhaps as a doctor, would you then suggest that they stop their blood thinners whilst they're on ivermectin?
Yeah, they have to be on blood thinners to protect themselves from the clots forming in COVID-19. Just that it must be monitored that they don't start getting to a state where they might bleed.
Okay, and we're talking internal bleeding, obviously. We're talking internal bleeding.
That's right.
Okay. The million-dollar question. How soon do you believe ivermectin will be available in South Africa and price? Because my understanding is that it's pretty cheap.
Yes, it's very cheap. I mean, you can buy it for 2 or 3 rand at the moment. And I mean, around the world, it's a very cheap drug. I think our government takes a lot of its cues from the World Health Organization, and they work very closely with them, and that's how a lot of the decisions are made. World Health Organization is waiting for 3 studies to come through, so they expect it within the next week or 2, and then they just have to do their data on it. I would hope by the end of this month or early next month that we are able to use it.
What about someone who's already been hospitalized with a very serious case of COVID-19? They're either still in hospital, they've passed the cytokine storm, and there's an issue with blood clots, etc., or any other effects or any other complications. Would you still then suggest, if ivermectin becomes available in the country, that it should be administered to that type of a patient?
The ivermectin in the late phase of the disease treats inflammatory conditions, so the cytokine storm or any other condition relating to inflammation. So I would say the doctor who's treating that patient would have to assess whether it was appropriate to give it at that time or not. But a lot of these long-standing symptoms they think are inflammatory and related to viral debris in our body. And
okay, the doctor's picture has frozen up again. Let's leave it there, and hopefully we will try and get him back again. Undoubtedly, he has shared some very vitally important information with us, and we can't wait to have this drug registered in the country so that we can start healing the nation. Dr. Martin Gill, not sure if you can hear me, but thank you indeed for being with us on the show today. And no doubt we will be talking with you again sometime soon.